On tonight's episode of Chiefs Focus Live, we're going to be discussing Chris Jones and his cryptic tweets. Do we really think he's going to hold out till week 8? We'll find out. What's up, Chiefs Kingdom? You're on another episode of Chiefs Focus Live. Had a little technical difficulty right there, but it's gone. We got Caleb, we got Philip, we got Quentin, got myself. We got Chris Jones tweeting out some more shit. Everybody's got in a tizzy. Got to get this off the books and off the record. It is what it is. Chris Jones put out a tweet to some fan that asked him when he was coming back, and he said week 8. Let's think about this. Come on, fans. Let's think about it real hard. He's already lost $2 million. Do we really think he's going to lose another 10? My people are saying no. He's not going to. And I will bet you anything he's back sooner than later. I know Caleb is pissed. I get it. A lot of people are. Fans are getting mad. The team's getting mad. I don't know about players so much, but I know the front office isn't real happy right now. So, what do you guys got to say?
Oh, I have a lot to say. I'll just go and take the floor on this one.
Hey, just spit it out, man.
I feel like we're in code red, nuclear 5, DEFCON level 30 option at this point. It's just like, at this point, why are we continuing to go through this process? Either he wants to be here or he doesn't want to be here. He has won 2 Super Bowl rings. I'm not understanding the whole point of tweeting everything out there on Twitter. I don't understand it, but that's what he's doing. For him to make the comment saying week 8 and then saying underneath it, I have money to deal with the fines, basically, it points this to me. Either he's trolling, which JP has been saying this entire time, or it's him basically saying, I will basically leave if need be. I like Chris Jones. I hope everything works out well. Welcome, Scott. Welcome, Will. Thanks for coming, guys. But the issue I have with the whole situation is this. When is enough going to be enough? I have a feeling, number one, Veach's not happy, but it's getting to some of the leaders in the locker room. They have sacrificed money. They have tried to do many different things to try to fix these issues in the past. When it comes to Chris Jones and money, it's like, let me hold out a bunch of times. I like him. I think he's a great player. But I feel like certain times when people think they are bigger than the team, a.k.a. Tyreek Hill, you have to move on from them. It just makes no sense to me why you're continuing to tweet all this stuff. As a fan in his tweet, one fan then said something like, well, you've been an all-pro level tweeter. I'm not saying he's right. I'm not saying he's wrong, but I do bring it. It's an interesting point how he's been on Twitter a bunch, but not working with a team. Because if you say you love Kansas City, you want to be here for all your period of time and all these things like that, I have to throw up the woo red sign and be like, I've heard this old song and dance before. I don't know if you're telling the truth. It's been too many examples I've seen in so many sports groups. Every single sport that has happened. And at this point, I'm just throwing my hands up in the air. The Chiefs need to find up his backup replacement. I do not believe he'll be traded because when it comes down to at the end of the day, why trade for him when you can wait till next year and get him for free? And that's something we can expand upon later.
I agree.
Oh, you agree with me? Because you were the last couple of weeks, we're like, oh, I don't think you're really right, Caleb. I think you're wrong.
No, I agree with what you're saying. Look, man, that's Chris Jones. He's been doing it for 8 years. I mean, honestly, everybody reads so much into his tweets.
I don't, because I know it's his
MO, but most people read into his shit and then they get all butt hurt and, it's one of those things to where after a while, you just have to realize that that's just what he does.
But here's the issue. No matter if that's his MO or he's being serious, the fans, I would feel like a large majority of the fans have taken on value where they've kind of turned against him, it seems like a little bit. They don't like what he's doing. I mean, I don't know if you guys agree with the process he's doing, but I feel like there's a large group is like, I don't like this anymore. This is getting ridiculous. Something needs to be figured out.
There's a thing about that, though, Caleb. And what's up, everybody? Shout out to my people at the Self-Advocate Coalition in Kansas, taking care of business, wearing my shirt. But there's the thing. Those same people who are complaining about Chris Jones, if Chris does report back, they're going to be the same people cheering him on. Oh, we love you, Chris, and all this other stuff. So it's the same old stuff. And let's not forget, it all started because I'm just going to say it, some idiot writer who used to work for the Kansas City, starting out working for ESPN, made it into something that it really is, because Chris has already said on certain tweets that I read into is I'm still on a contract for $30 million. So, like, let's say if he does get a new contract or not, or if he wants more money, the thing is he knows he's making the money. And when the dude, I think he was being sarcastic. This is how I know Chris is just being Chris. When the dude said, well, you're going to be paying the whole big entire money by week 8. Mm-hmm. I can afford it. I know he's just being funny, and also, like, I do believe he can afford it as well. But I think also you got to look at it like this. I think it's the same thing. Like, if y'all remember the first Jets Hard Knocks, Darrelle Revis missed the entire thing. It was about contracting, but I really think it wasn't about the contract. I just think he didn't want to appear on Hard Knocks because he's like, I don't need Hard Knocks to distract me from continuing to be Revis Island. And I kind of think you got to also looking into it like that with Chris Jones. So you never know, man. And also, he's still having fun. And like, think about it. He's establishing himself just like Mahomes and Kelsey has. And it's like, I can see that's what he's doing as well, too. And it's like, I will be there with my team, but we'll see how it goes going forward.
I got you.
Quentin, you got anything on this real quick? Because I got a couple other things I'm going to say about it, then we can move on.
Okay. I think it's ridiculous to think that he's not going to play the regular season. I don't think he's missing any games. I think it was too costly at that point. It's one thing to not show up to training camp and miss out on $2 million. It's another thing to miss out on 2 months of football and miss out on tens of, $10 million, $15 million, whatever it ends up being. So I think that's ridiculous. I also think that it comes to a point where you still have that want to compete. You still want to be here, and you're still going to make a lot of money regardless of what happens. Now, personally, I do think that my hope for a new contract getting done does seem to be getting further and further away from what's happening. But in regards to him playing this year, I have no worries about him missing any regular season time this year.
Do you think now? What would your alarm rate be, Quentin, on a scale of 1 to 10? 1 being the lowest, 10 being the high. Let's say he misses week 1. Then week 2, like, let's say you missed the first game or 2. What would your alarm rate go in between a scale of 1 to 10?
I mean, I just can't see him missing any regular season games.
Okay.
I really can't see it because it just doesn't make sense for him.
Well, here's the thing, real quick. Spagnuolo said that, of course they have to worry about injuries because, there's a difference between staying in shape, and even though he's kept himself in very good shape, every year, it's not the same as football shape, as we all know. But he's going to have to work through that. So the only person that's going to hold him out of any games at all if he shows up really late is going to be Andy. I don't think that's going to happen. They're going to put him out there that they do, and Spagnuolo made it very clear there is a risk of injury when you don't, if you don't keep yourself in football shape. We don't know whether he has or hasn't. We don't know if he's been out there taking hits from college kids, if he's been out, what he's been doing. We have no clue. He's been in Miami.
I think the closest thing we've seen him was working out with Dalvin Cook and just basically doing some footwork. That's the closest thing I know we have seen, and I think that's through Instagram.
Well, here also look, man, just because you can afford to lose $8 million or $10 million, or actually $12 million in his case if he stays out 8 games, doesn't mean you're stupid enough to do it. I mean, it just is what it is. You can afford all you want, but when you have money, you want to make more. When you play this game, you want to make more money. It's going to kill his stock if he sat out for 8 games. Not just from a monetary standpoint, but from a value standpoint to other teams. Nobody's going to put an ignorant amount of money into somebody that feels like they can't even show up and play because of, a contract or whatever the case may be. What's up, Cheese Live? How you doing, man? I don't see this happening. I don't think he's going to miss a single game. Now, will he be on a snap count? Absolutely.
I mean, he would have to be at that point. You're not in game shape, unfortunately.
What's up, Arrowhead News and Rumors Report? What's going on, man? Yeah, he's gonna be on a snap count. He's not gonna play. He's not gonna be an every down guy like he's been for the first few weeks, and that's to be expected. They want to make sure that he can actually go out there and perform and not get injured. He wants to go out there and perform and not get injured because he really didn't have an insurance clause or an injury clause in his contract. He's not going to get paid if he's sitting on the sidelines. So at least not the kind of money that he gets paid per week to play this game. This season anyway. It's just kind of a ridiculous notion to think that the Bears want him because they don't need him. They can't afford him. They would have to pay an awful lot of money to buy out that contract right now. We're talking about $30 million.
And extend him.
Yeah. So
just like
that's not going to happen.
Trying to do.
Yeah, that's just trolls out there putting out wannabe insider stuff. I'm sure there's teams out there that may want him. That doesn't mean that they can have him.
Or afford him.
That way. Or afford him. So when I say he's not making friends, he's not. He's not making friends within the organization right now. I'm sure, I know. In fact, I know the coaches are pissed off. They want him out there working out. They want him getting into shape. They want him there for the season. But they also know that they have a group. And look, man, like Spag said, whatever we have is going to have to work. We're going to have to make it work. Mm-hmm. If he's not here, we have to make work what we have. Mike Dana came out and said the same thing. Next man up mentality. We'd love to have him here, and we know the impact he has on the field. But again, we have to make this work.
At some point, do you think Veach could bring down the hammer or Andy?
Yeah, I think Veach can.
Okay. And what way do you think that could happen?
I mean, Veach could honestly, if he, I mean, the only way it's going to happen is if they trade him, which I don't think is going to happen. Mm-hmm. I think they can say, okay, if you want to sit out for 8 weeks, good. You're fined. You're sitting out 8 weeks. This is your suspension. You're going to sit out 4 weeks.
But at that point, is it even worth it to bring him back to the team?
Well, yeah, because
I feel like at that point the relationship is fractured. I feel like beyond repair. It's kind of like, what do you do at that point? Do you want? But you
still get to utilize him.
That's true. That is.
He's got to sign with somebody next year, man, and that's the whole thing. Mm-hmm. He's got to keep his stock up here, and right now it's dropping because of what he's doing. Mm-hmm. And if he doesn't play at any point during the season and play at a high level, his stock's going to continue to drop.
Let's just say he doesn't come back. What happens? What seriously happens? Because I don't think I've ever seen a situation like this before since the Darrelle Revis situation, which I believe maybe was like week 12 he came back or something similar to that effect.
They have to fill it in. They can take the money they're not paying him for those 8 weeks and put it into another player.
Because I was thinking you're going to need if he doesn't, I'm saying if in the event he does not show up full weeks of the season, you're going to need someone to kind of help fill in that rotation spot or anything.
If he sits out 8 weeks, that just puts cap money in our bank.
Yeah.
Because that's money we don't have to pay him. Mm-hmm. There's no guarantee that he gets paid for missing games on a holdout. That's not in his contract. He can't hold out and expect to be paid. I mean, you're talking over $1 million a game. You can't expect that. So it's going to be a weird. Let's see. Hold on. Will's got a question real quick. Let's see what that is. Do you guys think that the Chiefs will sign a pass rusher before the first game?
It all depends on whether or not Chris Jones gets extended.
Mm-hmm.
That's how you make the cap space.
Yep.
If not, you can't. You don't have the cap space for it.
Well, they have other players they can restructure if they wanted to, which other players have already agreed to restructure. They're just they don't want to do it yet. That money, look, when you the way Veach kind of operates is he allocates his restructures based upon the people that he has to sign the following year. Right now, Chris Jones's restructure is for money that he can keep in the bank to roll over to next year and also to fill in some spots in case we need an additional player or two. I can see them signing someone. They can easily convert some money from a couple of players to bonus structure money and be done with it.
Mm-hmm.
Chris Jones he's put the team in a position, and that's what's pissing him off, because he's handicapped them to a degree. But then he's also handicapping himself. No, but he's handicapping himself at the same time.
And you're not wrong.
Move.
Yeah. It's a twofold. It's a double-edged sword. It's like, well, what's going to happen in this situation? It's going to be interesting to see. I hope a deal can be done. I know we had talked this several times during the summer, but unfortunately, seems to be another piece added to the mystery every single day, it feels like, at this point. So, regardless, it is what it is. The Chiefs are doing the right thing. Next man up mentality. It'll be different if we're hearing guys like Travis Kelce or Patrick Mahomes tweeting something, which I doubt that will happen during the professionalism they have shown, specifically Mahomes, and how much we've seen Kelce has grown. I don't see that happening. But as Quentin said, it all depends on if Chris Jones if they can get a deal, because that's where the money's at. If they can't, we got to roll what we got and figure it out. They got a lot of talent on this team. It would help. But at the end of the day, we're able to win a Super Bowl. We're able to win a huge playoff game without him. We got to see if we can do it during the season. I'm just preparing for worst case scenario that he just does not come back at all. And I feel like he is kind of dug in the sand. He's like, I want to do this. And I think he believes either if I don't get paid this year, well, I'm getting it back from somebody next year. So I'm going to make it up one way or another. I feel like that's what he thinks. But
he thinks that, he's wrong, because, look, man, the older you get in that position, the worse off you are when it comes to your stock. Yeah. Your value drops every single year. What's up, Thiz? Every year your stock drops the older you get. So especially in that position, when you hit 30 years old, because which he's going to do real quick, when you hit 30 and you didn't play for, whether it be 8 games or any games this season, nobody's going to think you're ready to play next year. You didn't take one friggin' hit this year. You didn't do one thing. And you're a year older? Hell no, man. Ain't nobody's going to sit there and go, well, yeah, let me just give you that, $28 million a year. It's just not going to happen. It's a different skill position group that you have to, you strike when the iron's hot, and you get as much as you can, because it's your last long-term contract. And that's not something he's doing right now that I think is correct. I think his agents are jacking with his head. And then also I do believe there's some worry that he might get injured in training camp or a preseason game, especially now since he missed training camp, most of it. But I wouldn't put much stock into anything he tweets, because honestly, the dude has been jacking with people on Instagram. He's been jacking with people on Twitter. He's been jacking with people on Threads. Whatever social media he's on, he's messing with somebody.
Well, JP, it sounds like you need to be the Chris Jones tweet translator. I think it's time for you to, every time he tweets, just go, Chris Jones tweets translator, and just say what the tweet is.
Yeah.
And knowing him, he will probably interact.
I guarantee he absolutely would.
This is what Chris is really trying to say.
What he's really trying to say is,
let me pull out the Chris Jones dictionary. And
you might as well do this for every single player at this point. Everybody's doing something crazy. So
they are. So it's just funny, but it's part of the game. So anyway, it's a business. People have to realize that. Joey Bosa's already planning on holding out till week 8. That's his, and which is stupid. Man, I would, if he was completely a guy that had never had an injury, and is severely underpaid and wasn't offered a decent amount of money, I would say, okay, it kind of makes sense. But this man's had injury after injury after injury. They've offered him a pretty good paycheck, and he's declining it. So that's on him. The Bosas are a little bit arrogant. I will say that.
Yeah, especially when you got two bros that sound like this, bro. Yeah, so I had to say like this. I remember that's how Joey Bosa talked at the NFL Combine. They were talking him up at the same time, just like his brother Nick. So hey.
Yeah, his brother Nick is very arrogant. Nick is arrogant as hell. Who's the oldest one?
I think it's Joey.
Joey's the oldest.
It is Joey. Yeah, Joey's the oldest, and he's a little arrogant, man.
Yeah.
So it just kind of is what it is. But, you just have to look past that's the sucky part about social media. because when these guys want to play with your mind, they will play with your mind, and there's nothing you can do about it. You can get pissed.
And he's a millionaire too.
Yeah, I mean, he's got the money, he's got the clout at this point, but his clout's starting to diminish, and he's got to realize that now. And I think he is. I think he's figuring it out. He's getting pissed. He gets mad when people tweet dumb shit back at him and, call him a traitor and this and that and the other and greedy and, all this other stuff. When they start doing those kinds of things, it gets to you. But if you were in his shoes, you don't know how you would react, I guess.
Absolutely.
So you got to put yourself in somebody else's shoes for just a minute and go, okay, wait, what would I do if I was Chris Jones right now? So I guess that's just kind of how you have to look at it. But anyway, moving on. What else do we got, guys?
Quentin has the injury report for us.
I do. We have some positive news with Isaiah Pacheco. He has been pulled off of the no-touchy yellow jersey and has been given a normal red jersey.
Yay.
So Andy Reid called it a positive step, but has not determined whether or not he's going to play in the first game. But hey,
can I say something? That did not come out well. The no touchy feely yellow thing.
It's the no touchy feel. It's the no.
Yeah, it just didn't. It didn't come out the right way, and I don't think Pacheco would like it if he couldn't get touchy feelies. I understand.
I'm telling you how it is.
Move forward.
I don't make the rules. Don't hate the player. Hate the game.
Well, so is this saying he may not come back week 1? Because I feel like he will play.
Yeah, especially because we've got that bye week now. I don't know. I don't think he'll play this Saturday. Saturday games. I don't think he'll play Saturday. Sunday. There's no reason for it, but I do think that he comes back and he's feeling good for the next week. I don't see any reason why he won't play for the first game against the Eagles, but you got to start somewhere, right? You got to start to make your comeback somewhere. The rest of the injuries, there's not a ton of new information. It's just a continuation of some of the injuries. Defensive tackle Matt Dickerson has turf toe. Guys like Nick Allegretti, Kadarius Toney, Nico Ramingo, Nick Jones, L'Jarius Sneed, and Tershawn Wharton have all missed practice this week. Andy Reid said that Tershawn Wharton, his knee swelled back up after he started to go back into practice, and that Wharton's feeling good, but there's worry about the knee swelling. But I don't know. We'll see about that. That knee injuries are so weird because you can feel good about it, and then you put some pressure back on it, and all of a sudden it'll flare back up. It's like a soft tissue injury. If you're a normal person walking around, it's fine. But when you try and sprint on it, that's when
or take any time to hit or fall on it, or
and this
it's weird that your knee holds more
Toney.
water than it will build up more fluid quick than any joint in your body.
I don't know.
And that's it will. It's weird, but it will, because I didn't want to see you, Brad. Because it will actually hold up. It builds up fluid quicker than any joint in your body. So, I mean, we've seen this for years that players they get knee injuries. Hell, even Christian talked about it. Every time his knee would start to swell up, they'd stick a giant ass needle in there, drain it. It would be okay after 4 or 5 days, and then he would get out there, he'd fall on it, take a hit by it, even put too much pressure on it. He could slowly feel it filling back up again. To where guys with shoulder injuries or ankle injuries or any other joint, it doesn't build up. They'll build up a little fluid, but nothing. Brad, God, I want to smack him around. By the way, I called Hims today, and they're going to send you that hair growth system that they have. Anyway, we're trying to work a deal out with them. Maybe they'll give it to you for free. At least at a discount. Anyway, so, we watched Juju go through it. It took a while for his knee to stop building up fluid in it, and we've got 3 players with knee injuries right now.
Yep. In terms of Kadarius Toney, Andy Reid said we'll see. I don't see him playing in week 1.
He's not going on. Yeah.
I don't see that. I also don't, honestly, with the way L'Jarius Sneed is gone. I don't see him playing week 1 either.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is part of the reason why we've seen Shamari Connor play so much in the slot this season. I think they're trying to see if he's ready to go. So, and you got to feel positive about the way Shamari Connor is playing.
Oh, yeah.
We've talked about this. It's makes me feel good personally. But
kid's killing it.
Look, when you've got backup and you don't draft for need in the draft, you draft the best player that's available. You draft a player that you know can work in your system.
Mm-hmm.
This is the situation you put yourself in to where you're arguably, number 1 corner goes down. You have a guy with a very niche specific skill set. Well, you've got another guy right behind him that can replace that production. And so that's where Kansas City is right now. They have some injuries, but a lot of these guys should come back later in the year. And we're just in the spot right now where, because we aren't in the regular season yet, Kansas City does not have to be very honest or forefront with their injuries. So
absolutely not.
This is sort of the waiting game that we're going to play until the first week against the Lions, when they have to be way more upfront about what kind of injuries and give some sort of a timeline when these things are going to be all healed up.
Yeah, it is concerning, but at the end of the day, I do believe he will come back in his role. Now, next year, will he be here? That's the $1 million question. Quentin says no. I agree with Quentin. The Chiefs drafted a year early to prepare for this situation. Same thing they did with Willie Gay for Leo Chanel. So, unfortunately, we really can't get attached to these guys. They did a lot of great things, but from what everything looks, it just is not feasible with the market. They're probably going to want money-wise what the Chiefs are willing to spend. You can only do so much in order to try to repeat a Super Bowl. I mean, the goal this year is Super Bowl or bust. And the Chiefs are pretty much in the AFC Championship game or Super Bowl at the Arrowhead Invitational. So it's been a pretty good go for the last 6 years.
Yeah, and that's the thing, too. You got to take into consideration. I agree with y'all as well, too. I think Chris might not be back next season because you got to take this into consideration. Brett Veach is such a sports economics genius wizard that he takes the same approach that you see in the movie Moneyball. That's one of my favorite movies of all time, sports films as well, with Friday Night Lights and Remember the Titans and all those others in Space Jam. But anyway, he takes those aspects where you just find those players. Let's say Chris is not here. You've seen Matt Dickerson. You've seen Daniel Wise. Shout out Daniel Wise, Rock Chalk Jayhawk, buddy. There's also Derek Nottie. You see Keandre Colburn, who has dominated so far. He's eating. It's almost like, no offense to Derek Nottie, but Colburn is looking like he's going to replace him very soon as well. You also can't forget Spags always utilizes the NASCAR package, where he has his edge rushers go on the inside. So you got your 2 pure outside guys where, you also got to take into consideration, too. Charles Omenihu is going to be suspended for 6 games as well. So that's not only Chris you got to worry about. You got to worry about a guy who is the versatile guy, who's your base Leo outside, left outside defense end on the left, who also kicks inside of the 3 technique with Chris, and that's what we were supposed to see. But now where you see 2 of your interior guys are not going to be there, and plus on those passing downs, you got Mike Dana. You saw George Karlaftis also play on the inside in those snaps against the Cardinals, and that's what I wanted to see, because when he was in that position, playing the 3 technique and also playing the base left defensive inside, that's what made him an All-American coming out of Purdue. And I feel like that's what this is a great thing, too, is I think Chris is also saying to them, this gives the other guys in that locker room another chance to prove themselves. Like Danny Shelton, I think he's revitalized his career. And also you got to take into consideration, we got the best defensive line coach in the National Football League.
Absolutely.
Cullen, man. Joe Cullen, he doesn't get enough credit. Before he came to Kansas City from 2016, 2020, contributed to the number 1 defense, bro.
Sorry, man. I had to put this up there real quick. This popped off and said Hims has samples. We're going to have to order some for Brad. He said Hims has samples. That's good stuff. I'm sorry. I didn't see it at first. That's good shit right there. Thanks, Thiz. I needed that, bro. Gotta love this. But you're right, Philip.
Right.
You're right, man. And one thing you did say, you brought up a player that a lot of people were doubting, and that was Danny Shelton. He looked really fucking good. I mean, he looked good.
He looks
better.
He
wasn't in the backfield.
Than he ever did in his career. He was more as a pure, effective run stuffer, especially being at 330 pounds. But I feel like he's definitely treads some pounds off, and that's why he's moving quicker. And he looking like Dontari Poe out there, to be honest. Like this Danny Shelton or Dontari Poe.
Do we think he's going to throw a pass in the game? Is he going to run for it?
We've seen some videos on Twitter.
Okay, he might do something this year.
You never know. He might put him at fullback.
You never know.
Can you imagine that big ass dude at fullback?
Oh, dude,
it's like a bowling alley. I mean, it would be horrid to watch. But I agree with that, Philip. And you brought up another player, and I can't think of his name right now, on the defensive line that really stepped up.
Felix Anudike-Uzomah is looking like he's going to be that all-rookie edge rusher for us. He's showing some very good ability as a great speed edge rusher. His bend is the best of any edge rusher coming out of this draft class, and that's the number one trait for a successful edge rusher is the bend, to have the flexibility to get around, and he could do it, especially bull rushing too. I've seen in the last 2 games where he's affected quarterbacks to make errant throws, like that Halassi interception. A lot of you guys don't know that was caused by FUA, if I'm not mistaken.
Gotcha.
And also, man, I'll get to Halassi later, number 12 at corner, because I like that dude, man.
He's good.
Yeah. And also it gives Truman Jones an opportunity to showcase his skills, and also Malik Herron's also making a name for himself. Where he's like, "Hey, man, I'm not giving up my roster spot yet, but we probably could say the one person that's the odd man out among this group, Joshua Kane, though, at this point."
Yeah, he hasn't been on the field. He's unhealthy. I had high hopes, but it looks like he's the odd man out, kind of like Breland Speaks. Maybe they keep him in for depth, but just has been no progression in the last year or two, and that's concerning a little bit because you would thought he would have had something. It's kind of, I don't know, it explains a lot and just show a lot of different things, but hopefully they can figure it out. But
let's throw out one stat real quick. Philip brought this up. People were bitching about the defensive line and lack of pass rush. Apparently, in 6 quarters of play, they allowed 19 points.
Since the Chiefs were down 17-7 to the Saints, 17 to nothing. 17 to nothing. That's how many points they have scored. 55 points, and just allowing just 19 total points in the last 6 quarters. We are in mid-season form, and it's just preseason, but and the fact that all 90 of the players have played well, it's like the first time I've ever seen in not only in the Chiefs' history, but probably of any NFL team in history, especially not even seeing that from a consistent 24-1 Baltimore Ravens team who considers preseason as that tells you like y'all not that serious about the Super Bowl. Who cares about preseason records, man?
If they had a trophy, man, I wish they had a trophy for it, but they don't.
Right, just like a summer league ring. Hey, those are good-looking rings.
I mean, they haven't lost a preseason game since 2015. That's crazy talk.
Eric Bieniemy changed that last night.
Yeah, he did. But you're right, Philip. And the to score 55 points, and I guess the thing I'm looking at is everybody says, well, it's just these second and third stringers. Okay, but they're playing against second and third stringers. Some of them played against first stringers when we pulled our guys out.
Man.
So if you're able to go up against a first string O-line and you have never touched an NFL field before and you're playing at that level, I don't know what anybody's complaining about. It tells you that we can scout better and we can coach better because most of these guys we're seeing right now that you would consider high on the depth chart or low on the depth chart are going to be seeing the field at some point this year out of those 53 that we're talking about. Or 52. So, I mean, I would not want to be the guy that is making cuts this year for this team.
No, the team is too deep and you're going to lose someone that's potentially good. Unfortunately, that's what it is.
Yeah.
I would not want to make the cut either.
Those guys. Yeah, man, I hate to be either of those guys, especially have to tell those guys. But if it was me, I would tell each of those guys, especially the ones that are being cut, listen, man, you being cut doesn't mean that we don't think you're good enough, man. It's just this is one of the hardest decisions that we had to make. But just know those guys are getting cut. They're going to get paid just like the guys who have played for our teams from the past years, like the Ben Niemans and the Byron Pringles and the Charvarius Wards. Those type of guys are those examples. Those are guys who getting paid. D-Robs. Yeah, I gotta bring up.
A lot of names that were just paying Quentin and I, who you guys saw.
I mean, I'm just saying, like even Marcus Kim and Andrew Wiley, these are individuals. Even though we have taught what we said about them, they're still getting paid, and that's the same way you got to look at some of these players, these other players who are not going to make it. The other, I would say, 37 players who are not going to make the roster, especially, but 16 of those 37 are going to be on the practice squad. So, I mean.
And then you can put up to 4 on IR. So,
yeah, that's what I was going to say. You could put like guys like Nick Jones and a couple others on IR. But, Philip, you said 3 to 4 names that we did not like. Ben Niemann, Andrew Wiley, and many others. So,
that was a question.
There will be some laughing and some cringing at that. So, just want to let you know.
Yes, Will. I want to answer Will real quick. Yes, we are keeping 7 wide receivers. That's what we're doing.
Is Nico Bingo one of them?
Fullback, you're only going to keep 3 tight ends.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't think you're going to see. And I got to tell you, I wouldn't. There's a dogfight going on right now between 2 tight ends, and I think don't be surprised if you don't see Blake Bell on this roster.
I think it's Kelsey, Gray, and Bell. I don't think Matt Bushman.
Matt Bushman's pretty damn good.
I know. I don't know if he's shown enough to make it on the roster. Look, the decision is easier because you put Jody Fortson on the IR, right? And he's done. So the decision becomes easier then. I would probably, I don't know. Matt Bushman to me seems like he has a lot more upside. I know what Blake Bell is, and so it's always on those back-end roster guys. Sometimes it's easier to say go with the unknown rather than the Blake Bell, because Blake Bell doesn't provide me with a lot of just like I want to see what he has.
Mm-hmm. He's a good blocker. There's no doubt about it.
Does. And here, actually, let me rephrase that. If we get rid of Blake Bell, no more of that tush push crap that they do or quarterback sneak they do with.
You know
what? Fire his ass. I don't want to see him.
That's on you, but I'm going to just say this. I'm the one person here who's going to defend Blake Bell because there's somebody here who's a writer for Chiefs Focus who said, why not put Blake Bell as a fullback hybrid in the same class as a Rhett Ellerson who blocked for Adrian Peterson to winning the MVP years ago. And I'm not saying that we're going to be like that type of unit, but Andy Reid. Andy Reid knows the players in that locker room and their strengths and their weaknesses, and he will still find a way to put them in the best position to have success and to help the team win, just like Blake Bell. I think Blake Bell could be a very good, reliable fullback hybrid. Line him up as a fullback, line him up as an H-back, line him up as a tight end because, okay, you're going to get rid of him. So let's say, and I hate to say it, what if Kelsey gets hurt? Just like what we saw in that Tennessee game years ago. We all know that everybody's going to be running around like a chicken with their heads cut off. Like, oh my gosh, how are we going to find and replace Kelsey? Like, that's the real question. Then Jody's on IR, and all you still have left is Noah Gray and then Matt Bushman. And then Kendall Blanton. Kendall Blanton still has that talent, but we still haven't seen the consistency that he can make those catches and also follow through with those blocks. Like those are those things that you just want to see.
And that's what I like about Bushman is he can block, he can catch, there's a lot of things he can do. But you know what? You brought up a great point, Philip, because we're not going with the fullback this year. So, which is the first year I think Andy Reid's. Yeah, I mean, this is like the first year I think Andy Reid's not had a fullback in his career. So if you do, and I know Quentin hates the fact that you use Blake Bell as a fullback, but it's what you're doing is you're opening a roster spot for a guy that can actually play fullback if you keep him on the roster.
Hate bad plays.
But it's not a bad play if it's the first down.
Effectively a bad play.
But the
bad play
call.
Multiple bad plays.
How many times has he had that bad play call?
And going back into last year, why do you think the Chiefs were like the worst short yardage team in the NFL?
Yeah, but he wasn't the reason.
Exactly.
So
it wasn't Blake Bell causing that.
You want to keep running the quarterback sneak that everybody knows is coming, and you can't get it.
We never run the quarterback sneak.
We do
Yeah,
what
they ran it like 4
well,
times last
Mitch
year.
Holtz
But
just
he's
has a
not a
nickname
quarterback.
for it.
But he's not the quarterback. What I'm saying to you is, if you keep him in there and
If
say
you're
you
under
put
center
Blake Bell on the back,
and then you try and dive
okay,
in between
that's a
the center and the
trick
guard.
play though. I'm talking about
Okay.
using him as a true fullback in position in certain schemes. You can make it work because he can bowl over people. He's a strong dude.
Bell
I'm not
Dover.
saying what it did was, even just say if Blake Bell or if it's Matt Bushman gets put on the practice squad, okay, whatever. It is what it is. The good thing is that they don't have to go through waivers now. They can automatically go to the practice squad. So
Right.
you put that guy on the practice squad, whichever one it may be. You get an injury, you got a replacement. But my point is that either one of those guys can come in and play and make a difference on the field. The difference between Bushman and Blake Bell is that Bushman's a better tight end. He's an all-around, more athletic tight end. He's made that very clear. He's shown it on the field. He's made some great catches. He blocks very well. He doesn't do stupid blocks. He doesn't do the George Kittle, but yet he's effective in when he plays. I like the way he plays the game. I don't mind Blake Bell. I just don't think he's the most effective tight end in a passing scheme. So if you're going to keep a guy like him and you're going to open up a roster spot by eliminating a position, why not utilize him for that position? Because it's not hurting anything. You can tag him in as a fullback. Okay, Blake Bell fullback for this play. And you hand the ball off to him and he bowls over people. Phenomenal. 3rd and 1, 3rd and 2, he's going to get the first down. He's just too damn big. Under center, you know what's going to happen. It's pretty predictable. But I think in a fullback spot, it's a little bit different.
I feel like they could use more of the passing game out of the backfield as a fullback, fake hit fullback.
Could do that.
Pass, something like that.
That's
I mean,
what
we've
they-
seen him bowl over people. It just hasn't been the consistency. And I still believe the Chiefs, within the next year or two, I've been saying this for a while, you got to find the Kelsey replacement for someone that's comparable in some stature to help, because one day Kelsey will not be here. And AP, I'm sorry, but Brock Bowers is going to be a top 5 or top 10 pick. The Chiefs are not going to trade all that capital for him.
Yeah.
Man, we got a lot
As
of
much
capital.
as I would love for that to happen, that just won't happen. I'm sorry.
Wait a minute, where did what's his name go this year? What position did he go in?
Wow.
The one that we were going to go with.
Kincaid?
What?
He
Yeah.
went, did he go to-
17th, right?
Buffalo. Went to
Yeah.
No, where did he go? Was it 17th he went?
Yes, he
Okay.
did.
Everybody assumed that he was going to be top 5, top 10.
I knew he was going to go top 10.
Well, but I'm talking about all the mock drafts said he was going to be probably going to be picked within the first 7 rounds or 7
But
picks.
Brock Bowers is leaps, bounds, and mountains better than Kincaid. He is all you can do it. Take runs out of the backfield, catch, block, everything. He could probably throw the pass and also paint the field if need be. I mean, he's just the full package. He's a top 10 pick.
And you don't think Veach would say, okay, wait a minute, we need a guy that can replace Kelsey's production, so we won't jump up a few spots to get him.
I need to see it, and they haven't really done like a huge jump, like from 27 to 10. To what we saw, what they did with Mahomes. Now we've seen like a 29-30 to 21, and that worked. But I mean, I need to see something happen. I like Brock Bowers. I would want him to be here, but it's just too much. And the Chiefs love their draft capital. I don't see them just doing that. That's just me. And maybe I could be wrong. Maybe something happens where Brock Bowers slips in the draft, but I don't see that. I just don't see that happening. But they do need to find some reliable, because in the event Kelsey retires or they don't have anyone, it's not going to be good. There goes a safety net.
Dude,
Well, I think the only thing I want to say real quick, and then you guys go on. The only thing I can say right now is that over the last 2 years, we have drafted so well in every position of need that we've needed. We're kind of set for the next year or two, okay, when it comes to the draft. So if Veach is looking at it from that perspective, and he goes, wait a minute, we've drafted everybody we've needed. We're gonna have to replace Kelsey at some point. Why not jump up and do it? Because we don't really need to draft anyone right now, because we've kind of filled all those spots and we got so much depth on this team. Who knows? Who knows what Veach is thinking? He's kind of crazy. He's a crazy genius. And who knows if he'll do something like that? You just don't know. But we'll have to see what happens. But go ahead.
Honestly, this team needs more defensive line and offensive line help. We're gonna need a new tackle next year because Donovan Smith's only going to be here a year, and I need more pass rush. So I need a first-round pick next year spent on a defensive edge rusher / nose tackle, and I need a new tackle.
That's fair.
How do you know they won't re-sign him next year? Donovan Smith.
Because I just assume that he's going to get a fat contract somewhere else. Plus, you're going to need to re-sign guys like Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith coming up. So I need to get cheaper overall on the offensive line. I can't spend all of my money on the offensive line. I can't have a $50 million payroll on my offensive line. So the other thing is that with tight end / wide receiver, you really almost have to look at them as one unit, because when you have a superstar quarterback like Patrick Mahomes, I can have a mediocre wide receiver group if I have a superstar tight end. And the reverse is true as well. If I have a really good wide receiver room, I don't need to have a really good tight end. So if Kansas City views that as one room, which we know at least the fan base and to some extent the team does, because they didn't go out and spend a whole bunch of investment in the wide receiver group because we have a Travis Kelce. So if you can go ahead and continue to spend later-ish round picks, mid-round picks at the wide receiver position and find yourself a guy, then you don't need to have a superstar tight end. Maybe Rashee Rice turns into that. Maybe Kadarius Toney, as long as his legs don't turn into pillars of glass, then maybe he can be that guy. So you don't need to fill that Travis Kelce role because you have a wide receiver group that you have more opportunities to fill in. I need more offense and defensive line help coming into this next season.
Well, we're going to have to see what we got. We got a lot of depth on both sides, but I don't know. I don't know that I agree with half of what you're saying on the wide receiver group. I don't look, man. People have said it. I don't know how true it is, but Kelce has been a pretty damn good security blanket, and there's there's so much chemistry between the two, and he's so relied upon. It would be hard to say, okay, I don't need a superstar tight end. Because what we've seen, other than the fact that Jody Fortson has caught some really good passes, and maybe Noah Gray's caught a few good passes, nobody has stepped up when Mahomes has no one to throw to like Kelce has.
And here's what I would say to that, is that it's not like during all 20 years of Andy Reid's NFL career, he's had a superstar tight end.
Mm-hmm.
He can build an offense around any sort of offensive weapons. So if you don't end up having a top-tier tight end, but you have a lot of really good wide receivers, we know Andy Reid can build an offense around that. So whenever Travis Kelce is done, I'm not worried about this offense moving forward. I've got Patrick Mahomes. I've got Andy Reid. We can make it work. I need the guys to protect Patrick Mahomes, and I need the defensive linemen to go get the other quarterback because I know that I'm going to be in a shootout every single week.
That's true.
What's up, Danny? You're a little late, but that's okay. We've been talking for a while, but it's okay, Danny. I know things happen. Brad, you said still no love for Justin Ross. Man, you know we love some Justin
It depends
Ross.
on who you're asking.
The three of the four of us love that dude. There's three of us on this group that know he's a lock. The other one thinks he's, practice squad material. He thinks he's trash and ain't no good. He just thinks he's just there, but whatever. Anyway.
And even he also doubts Rashee Rice on the roster gets a Super Bowl ring. Okay?
Oh, shit. I love this fucking show. No matter how much pain I'm in right now, I'm laughing. Chiefs Live said Brock Bowers is a top 7 pick easily. They said the same thing about what's his name? The one from Henderson, Nevada. What's his name, man? I can't remember it now.
Yeah, he's so good that you just clearly remember his name.
I can't remember his name. It keeps slipping my mind. Could be the drugs.
Well, it's not Justin Ross.
No, the dude, the tight end.
Brock Bowers.
No, the other one that was picked this year.
Dalton Kincaid.
Dalton Kincaid. Damn, I don't know why that name keeps slipping my mind. He was damn good too, and everybody said he was going to be a top 7 pick, and he wasn't. So anyway, moving forward, what do you got, Philip? What were you going to say?
I was just going to say that Quentin's point about next year's draft, I do agree. Offensive line and defensive line, that's always the bread and butter to like go with the draft, especially those premium positions. But I think after you look at the last 2 drafts, we have drafted DK Uzama and Carl Loftus. So that's basically your edges for the future. I would say, yeah, defensive tackle, but I think left tackle of the future could be that position, especially on a rookie contract would be that position that I would go with in next year's draft. And then, yeah, safety or tight end or receiver after that, but that's just my opinion there. And also that comment about the bad play call, Matt Nagy, if you're watching this, is not no bad part of saying anything bad about you. I was just saying that was a bad play call with the Blake Bell play, but I know you just didn't care because it was just preseason. I know they were just testing out. They didn't testing
the waters.
That's all it was, man. They were just testing the waters.
Yeah, and sometimes waters are infested with piranhas. It should
never
my! Back again.
I'm glad you're here, brother. I'm glad you're here, man. Danny. Chief Slide said I should pay Chris Jones extension. I want to say something really quick. For everybody that listens to this show, do not go on any
the GoFundMe page and pay Chris Jones' salary. That is fake. Someone is going to – there's already if I saw that correctly, and I don't know if I did or not, it looked like it said it had $43,000 in it. Of the $10 million requested, Chris Jones came out and said that.
I know, but who the hell would even consider? Regardless, it is what it is. There's some crazy ass people out there that do crazy shit. Brad says it's up to $54,000 now. What the fuck is wrong with people? Now, GoFundMe is going to have to go back and give all those people their money back because that ain't Chris Jones.
Yeah.
The sand hell's going on. People are nuts, man. I mean. Anyway,
they lost hope.
They lost hope. They lost hope. That's exactly what it is. What else we got, fellas?
I do have kind of one more topic before we kind of end out the show, and this is kind of what are your guys' thoughts on this team going to the last preseason game? I know it's kind of a little early on this topic. We could just barely touch on getting more in depth on Thursday for those who are going to be listening and watching then, but. How much do you expect the offense to realistically play? And then what is one player you think that has to save their roster spot? So let's go on and do that first part. How long do we think that the first team offense and defense are going to play? If you had to get, is it a quarter? Is it a couple drives? Just what are your guys' thoughts on that?
Who wants to go first?
I'll just say probably a couple of drives. I think it's going to be a repeat of game 1.
Okay.
Right. Because we're such a limited time frame of having only 3 preseason games, you can't really look at the past. But because previously it was the 3rd game that the starters got a good chunk of it. But this team has got basically its starters all set. I don't even really know if there's a question mark as to any starter at any of the positions going in there. So I don't need a bunch of views for the first team. I need to look at second team and third team guys.
That's fair.
In terms of somebody that really needs to solidify their spot on the team, I'm not sure if there's a guy that outside of that Khalif Halisi. I think he might have, if he continues to play well, maybe he's the one that slides into a spot. And maybe they throw Nick Jones on the IR because of his broken hand, right?
I agree.
So if he balls out again, then maybe the Chiefs just come to the conclusion that that's a decision that they make. There's that wide receiver, but I don't even know how the numbers would work out. That Smith Marset guy, just completely showed up.
Man,
Maybe he doesn't get to his spot on the roster, but maybe he saves himself a spot on the practice squad, or because he plays so well, he ends up staying in the NFL in general.
Yeah.
But those are the guys, just at least at the top of my head, that I can think of that have at least solidified their spot in the NFL.
Okay. Hey, can I tell you something, Quentin, about Amir Smith Marset? If you looked at his film from Iowa, he really didn't have any good quarterbacks. So what you saw on Saturday, he showed you why he's happy to be with the Chiefs and finally show his skill set. So in my opinion, if he doesn't make the 53-man roster, I think he is on this practice squad again, but they're going to protect him like they did Shane Buechele in 2021. And I just see that with Smith Marset. I don't know if there's really any. Well, man, ain't nobody talked about this. Who knows? Because we all know Andy loves veteran quarterbacks. You got Blaine Gabbert, but are we ready to talk about the backup quarterback controversy between Gabbert and Shane Buechele, or are we just watching Andy just giving Buechele more of an opportunity? That's another thing that I'm looking at. And I'm just going to say this for everybody here too. Deneric Prinson's not going anywhere because, first of all, it don't make no sense to cut a person who you're guaranteeing more money that you guaranteed Isaiah Pacheco last season as a rookie. And that's saying a whole lot right there. Agreed. So I'm just saying right there, man. But I mean, if there's somebody who really needs to solidify themselves, I think you need to watch Matt Bushman versus Kendall Blanton, the tight end position there. And also the D tackles, especially I think Danny Shelton solidified himself, but look at Daniel Wise or Matt Dickerson, whoever goes at it there. Those are those two guys I feel like they got to really prove themselves, because you saw Daniel Wise, my guy from KU, who started with the first team in the Cardinals game, and then you saw Matt Dickerson, and I didn't see him until late in the fourth quarter. So, I mean, those things you're looking at too. And Halassi, oh my gosh, number 12. That's the thing why I got to talk about him, man, because you got a guy who's 6'1", 194 pounds, very similar build, just like Charvarius Ward, who was also undrafted. And Brett Veach traded for him from the Cowboys. So, Cowboy fans, sorry, Brian, my boy Brian Hayer, I don't know what y'all was thinking about letting us take Charvarius Ward from y'all. Rest is history. But Halassi, one of the best zone corners coming out of college football last season, coming from Western Kentucky. And right now, Pro Football Focus, he's one of the top 5 best zone corners, even in limited capacity. His zone coverage is just insane. There's a guy that made James Washington, who was the Biletnikoff Award winner from Oklahoma State, getting cut by the Saints because he picked him off with that and one highlight reel interception. And then number 83 from the Cardinals, who has like 4.3 speed. And Halassi is like a 4.5 guy, and he shut him down on that 4th and 9 that was turnover on down for the Chiefs in that game. So that's very impressive. So those are my guys that's on my mind going forward.
Okay, I'm going to tell you one player that I think really stood out on the defense, and if he plays well, he's probably solidified his spot, and that's Colburn. People are forgetting about him. He played extremely well in that game. He was right there all the time, knew his role.
Looked like Colin Sanders, bro.
Yeah, that's who he's a bigger Colin Saunders. That's exactly who he reminds me of. He's just a bigger Colin Saunders. And I feel like he's solidified he really did a good job this last week. And if he plays the same or exceeds that this week, you might see him on this roster, especially with the whole situation going on. He is a great player. He's got a lot of talent. He's not really that raw. As much as people want to say this is raw talent in some areas it is. He's not that raw. He's got a lot of skill set, and he's got a very high football IQ. There's a few things I want to get to really quick. And by the way, the one person that I think this is not a rookie. The other person I think that needs to probably solidify his position is Clyde. I feel like Clyde's still on the fence, and I feel like he's that guy that's the odd man out in the running back room. I still feel that way. I'm going to feel that way for a while. Danny said, what's your position on Chris Jones? Forget about him until he shows up, because that's mine. We talked about it before you got on the show. Ignore the crazy tweets and all the shit he does. Look, man, it's just part of Chris Jones's persona. He's done it forever. I wouldn't be concerned with him not playing. The whole Week 8 thing it's just a troll. He's not going to lose $12 million. And that's what he would actually lose by not playing 8 games and then also not playing or not participating in preseason. Or training camp or preseason for that matter. So I wouldn't even put myself in that role. Brad said, I'm pretty sure Mahomes won't play. He hasn't played last year, or he didn't play last year in the third game. Well, the difference is that we got a lot of young players that may end up playing on the first team with Mahomes or getting a lot of snaps from Mahomes. We may want to see what he does with some of these younger guys. So I feel like he might play a full quarter and put some of those younger guys in to see what they can actually do with Mahomes on the field. And I think that's going to be Yeah, I mean, they did really well with Gabbert, and they did really well with Buechele, but there's a difference, night and day difference between the way Mahomes plays and those two guys play. So Mahomes is on the fly. You got to be ready for anything he may do. So it's going to be a test to see if they can keep up with him. And I think we may see that. So I think he'll play a quarter. The rest of the guys, I don't know. I think you're going to see a lot of second guys and third guys in there to see what they can do with Mahomes. But that's really about all I got. The one thing I will say to everybody that's listening to the show, make sure you go on your phone, do it now, while we're on this live stream. I want you to go on your phone, go to your app store, and download. Just type in the letter P as in Paul, S as in Sam, F as in Frank. That's all you got to do. Just type in those three things, PSF. Make sure you join. Download the app, join the Chiefs Focus fans, and follow us on that group, because we are the Gamecast group for Sean Salisbury's. There's the app right there. We are the Gamecast crew for Sean Salisbury's new app through ESPN and his own creation, and we're going to be doing that for 17 games, including the playoffs. So make sure you download the app. This is like the Manning Cast, but unfiltered. And we're going to have some media on and or former NFL player on every week. It's just going to be a really good time. You'll have a blast. And it's live game play-by-play through the entire thing. And whatever anybody wants to say, they can say. Because you know what? That's what he wants. He's unfiltered. I'm pretty damn unfiltered. And we can be... What's that?
Said I'm a saint.
And Quentin, he just never says anything wrong. And he's like, when he gets off of here, he puts his collar on and then he goes and does sermons. Yeah. But, but it's just a really good app. And Sean put a lot into this, and extremely humbled that he even asked to have us do this. So make sure you join it. It's really cool. It's Spaces and Discord and everything else on steroids. It's audio and video. So you're going to see whoever you're talking to. We can see you if you want. While we're watching the game, we can go by what we see. We can do all kinds of different things. It's just a really cool thing to be on. It worked really well with MLB, and it's going to work really well with the NFL. So make sure you join that. It's free to join, and you'll enjoy it. That being said, what's up, Arrowhead Chiefs Podcast? Where you been? You fell asleep. The show's over. You can go back and listen to it, though. We're going to come back again on Thursday at the exact same time and talk some more crap. But and by the way, on the PSF app, we will be doing a midweek show. So there's going to be every game and then a midweek show that we'll be doing. So there's going to be a lot of different personalities on there, and it's going to be fun. With that being said, I don't think we got anything else. We appreciate everybody for joining. Philip, thank you again for coming on.
Thank you, Philip.
And thank you, guys.
We will talk to you guys again on Thursday. Peace out, everybody.